Aloha, friends and neighbors. Rollin Frost here, Kona Astrologer. You're looking at show 1002. Thanks for joining me. I got some interesting things to share with you. Some quite startling today, so I want to get along with the sky mirror and save time for at least two very interesting topics. We're going to cover the third week in February for you and take a look at the planetary setup. Here's a quick commercial. You want chart work done, or you just want to review the last 5 shows? Sky Mirror Astrology, one word, all small, .com/TV. You want to say hello personally? My phone doesn't have an answer service. You get me, you get me. If you don't, I'm not there. 808-322-3584. I get lonely too, huh? So give me a buzz. Now let's talk about the planetary setup here. As we speak, the sun is squaring Mars. A little ticked off, impatient, angry. Well, everybody is. Trick is to get loose of a square. A square is like, oh, I got all this, like a tense muscle in your body. How do you relax it? Well, with Mars, you ask yourself what you're protecting. Because you're ticked off, you're impatient. What are you protecting? You wouldn't be angry. The god Mars, and you wouldn't be angry if he knew what he was protecting. Just ask yourself, what am I protecting? What am I protecting? Sometimes it works with other people. What are you protecting? But you got to ask the question, keep asking it until suddenly you see what you're protecting. It's clear they're just a physical thing to do. Oh, I got to take this and move it over there. I got to chop wood, carry water. Whatever it is, it's physical. Now, the Sun-Mars square is kind of overwhelming. You're kind of getting used to the Uranus-Pluto square, aren't you? It's tight, though. It's 17 and 18. It's starting to go onto some new ground. Some of you with charts sensitive to those numbers may have. It's an interesting thing. Here's Saturn moved up in Sagittarius, and it's trining Uranus. Republicans becoming environmentalists? Oh, I hope so. And for you romantics out there, okay, we have Mars and Venus in sextile. Yes, Mars is in Capricorn. She's kind of businesslike when you start your week at 24 Capricorn, but she's sextiling Mars, and Mars is chasing her pretty strong here for the first half of your week anyway. You'll see the young couples out there holding hands. Now we're going to run the moon around this pattern, and the moon kind of gives you the flow of pictures in your mind. Yeah, it's not your chart now. This is like the generic chart. And when you look at the moon, well, if you're on a Thursday night show, you're Thursday in the middle of the day, there was a nice trine to Saturn here. Oh no, excuse me. That's like midnight, Thursday night. The moon trines Saturn at 15 degrees. Oh, everything's nice and settled. Uh-oh. And then 2 degrees later at 17. Now you're at Friday morning at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. Eek a bug, eek a rat, eek a siren, eek a burglar, eek, eek. And then there's independent action, which comes in about breakfast time as the moon hits Uranus. Take a different look. Step out of the box. Yeah, that'll decrease your panic a little bit. So it's another freaky Friday morning. A bit of I call them frenzy mornings. Freaky frenzy Friday mornings. And there's another one. It doesn't get too much better. There is a trine or a sextile to the sun at 23. That comes in just before dinner, but there's also a square to Venus, and she's not happy. There's no sweets and no rest, and so whatever disturbed you Friday morning probably continues to disturb you. Even though you got a plan, it's still no rest. Can't communicate Friday night late, 10, 11 o'clock, square to Mercury. Saturday, well, the moon shifts into Taurus. It all changes. Now you're in fixed Earth instead of that Aries that it so easily goes off angry. So once you're in Taurus, we got a nice sextile to Neptune Saturday here in the afternoon and evening, and there's color and art and music, and this is a time for church, and open up your higher heart. Go out and sit with the birds and watch the sunset. Saturday the 13th of February is nice. Is that Valentine? I think Valentine's Day is February 14th. Sunday starts off with a trine to Pluto. We're in control of this. And then in the afternoon, there's a trine to Jupiter. Oh boy, truth and wisdom comes out. However, there's an opposition to Mars. See it? And the opposition to Mars, focus, camera, focus. It comes in just after the trine to Jupiter. So you're kind of going, aha, isn't this great? And everybody's laughing, and then bang. The young people are too raucous, they're too loud, there's too much anger and testosterone, and tell that young man to stop doing all of that. And that vibe continues through the evening of Sunday when there's a square to the sun. Nobody got nothing done Sunday night. It's okay. Monday morning, the moon hits Gemini. It's a mutable air sign. Great stuff, except the moon squares Neptune, and there's confusion and delusion after dinner Monday night. Yeah. And that delusion and confusion makes for everybody getting late. Here's Tuesday morning, and the moon's opposing Saturn, and we can't get out of there. That could be cold or snow or something like that. But delays, difficulties start early Tuesday. By the afternoon, here's a sextile to Uranus. Yep, common sense, thinking out of the box wins the day. And even when you got it done, here at dinner time, there's a square to Jupiter, and you're laughing too much and overdoing it, and too much is too much. Wednesday morning, well, if you sleep late, the moon goes into Cancer. Quite a nice time. If you notice, here's the moon trining the sun. And Venus? Oh, this is an opposition to Venus, not a trine. I knew something was wrong there. So you got a good plan, and Father is ambitious, but there's no sweets. Sorry, Venus says, oh, go do your thing, man. Moon's in Cancer. All right, so here early Thursday morning, here we're talking 3-4 in the morning, the moon trines Neptune from Cancer. It's very nice. Here's more compassion and more higher feeling. Very nice. And it's well separated from the panic that sets in here Thursday night. You notice that our Freaky Fridays has moved. I used to be on the weekend Saturday, and every month it goes back about a day, the Uranus-Pluto square. And now it's showing up Thursday night. So this is not a time to tease the policeman. No. The moon starts off with the opposition to Pluto. Don't tell me what to do. And then a square to Uranus. I'm stuck. I want to be independent and free, but it's a song. There's a man with a gun over there telling me I got to beware. Friday morning gets a little better. Moon's in late Cancer. Has a nice sextile to Jupiter. Oh boy. And here's some help from everybody. Friday morning starts off quite well. So it's very nice. Until after dinner when the moon shifts into Leo and Venus starts to become ornery. Friday night is her day. Vendrady. Friday is Venus's day. She's not happy here about 10, 11 o'clock to midnight. There's no rest. There's no sweets. Forget the sex. You won't. You'll say, I don't have enough. I can't be satisfied. Eek. Well, keep you up late worrying over it. Don't do that because the kids are going to bug you. There's an opposition to Mercury here Saturday throughout most of the day. At least till you get to after dinner with the moon in Leo. There's a nice trine to Saturn. Oh, I got ourselves organized about 10, 11 o'clock Saturday night. We're on time. Hooray. And then there's a trine to Uranus. The electronics are working good. Everybody's in brotherhood. The Republicans have turned into environmentalists Saturday night, Sunday morning. Hooray! Works good until you get to Sunday about dinner time. And then here's a square to Mars. And here we are, a little angry and impatient again. And ask yourself what you're protecting. Don't get in the heat there. It won't do any good on the 21st. Yeah, I got some interesting stuff to share. Come on inside. All right, on last week's show, I told you I got a new solar return. Neptune's up in the 9th. I'm going to go explore some issues that you don't see explored very often. Especially there's where we have experts, professors, doctors, the priests telling us this and that and this. So, I dove into these things when I was very young. Yes, I was reading Plato when I was 8 and Carl Jung when I was 16. What am I looking for? I'm looking to see if there's life after death. I'm looking to see if there's really a God. I'm looking to see if there's non-physical beings. Now, this is a big thing. When I finally get to be 75, I'm now 75 years old, I look back on my life, I had a lot of ghost experiences. I had night marchers too. Yes, I'm going to tell you that story. Ancestor spirits. Now, there's a few times when each of you gets a sense of the non-physical beings. One of them is in dreams. When you have a dream, you wake up and you say, gee, I wasn't really there. Sure felt like it. You were in a non-physical state in your dream. Yes, what are dreams anyway? People will, all your professors will say, oh, they mean nothing. But here's another one that happens to most of us. When a family member dies, you oftentimes have experiences of spirit, non-physical beings. Now, this just happened in my universe. One of my best buddies, I won't tell you his name because you'd know him, but he's close to my age, and his mom died. And when I found out what strange thing had happened, he had a young Hawaiian guy was cleaning his place up a bit, and he found this book, and it was a book of photographs. And this book was photographs of his mother. And this happened night before last. So here he is, suddenly given this book of all the photos of his mother. That was in the evening, and he went to sleep, and he gets a phone call at 2 a.m., and it's his brother, and he said, your mother has passed on. She was quite old. Now, how did he get that book? How did he get that bunch of photographs? I call it a flyby. When a family member dies, somebody close to you, they will fly by for a little bit and kind of say hello and do something phenomenal to show you that, they're still there in some way. I had one of the most amazing things that happened to me was when my dad died. And maybe, do I have time for this? I might as well tell you that story too. Okay, there's my dad. By the way, I found out that most spirits, even if they go out when they're 90 and they're ugly, if you're going to put pictures of them around, use pictures when they're young and in the prime of life. So, okay, my dad dies in an accident. He's late 60s or something. Mom freaks out a lot. And what happened is I went over there to bury my dad in San Leandro in a cemetery, and I was there, and there was a guy with a backhoe standing by, and we put a little silver and some medicine in some pot, because he had pot with him and money when he died on the highway. So put some in his coffin to help him on his journey and stuff, and the backhoe guy comes along and starts to put dirt on the coffin, and I'm standing there with some of my sons, and that guy on the backhoe says, "Hey, there's another frost over there." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, right over there. Come on, I'll show you." And he walks us over there, And there is the grave of Frank Frost. Yes, Frank Frost is my grandfather. He's buried in the same cemetery. I was stupefied. And I said, come on, guys, over here. And me and a few sons sat around. And I just said out loud, very loudly, wake up, Frank. Your son is here. You got to come and welcome him and keep him safe. And the backhoe guy looked at me a little bit astounded, and my sons did. And, that was it. We just marched out of there. Nothing much was said till I got home. And when I got into the kitchen, my mother, who was, almost non-compass menace over this, had opened up a large photo album, and I walked in and looked over her shoulder and gave her a kind of hug, and she flipped the page, and there was a big 9x12 picture of Frank with his arm around my father. When my sister Cynthia died, a person I loved very much, I was driving, and suddenly I had a vision, and there was this face, Cynthia's face, and it was in the front of a locomotive, and the locomotive was speeding along and had these speed lines behind it, like you see in a cartoon about the little choo-choo train. And there was Cynthia, and man, she was moving quick, and she went right by me with a big smile, and she was off. And I looked at my companions, and I said, uh-oh, my sister just died. We made a phone call, and it was true. She died in a motorcycle accident real suddenly. But I had a flyby. Flybys, they always happen in some way. And sometimes it's like I had another flyby by my father in a dream. And a month after he died or so, I had this intense dream. I still remember. I looked out there in this dream, and there was this line in the water on the ocean. And the line, I said, boy, that's an awful big wave. And I thought, oh, maybe that's a tsunami wave. And the wave got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was standing on a dock. And then finally, the wave got super big. And I looked, and there was somebody on surfing that big wave. There was a person on it. And when they pulled up to the dock, it was my father. And he was riding on a big dolphin, huge dolphin kind of creature. He had reins like a horse. He pulls up to the dock and looks at me and he says, Raleigh, come on, this is great fun. And I said, geez, Dad, I'm sorry. I got work to do. I got to wait. I'll see you later. And off he went. Choom on the super dolphin. Wow. Okay, another time that everybody suddenly gets scared in the dark. Here's an essential rule about ghosts. Your eyes, you're in a human body. Your eyes are like lasers. You are super powerful. And if you look directly at one of these ghost kind of entities, they become visible for a thousandth of a second. But it's like burning, and it really hurts them. So, what these spirits who you call ghosts roaming around, what they got to do is they got to hide from the human eye. So, they're off in houses, there's nobody there, in lava tubes, or in caves, they're in places where there's no people. They're in, they got to hide from people because people look at them, it hurts. That explains why Hawaiians say if there's a night marcher around, what you got to do is lie down and cover your eyes. That's the polite thing to do with the ghost. I was down in Chichen Itza behind the big pyramid, and I'm walking along, and we're back in an area where there's no people, and there was like 100 little apartments, and I was walking along these apartments, and everything was fine. And I came to one. Suddenly I got really scared. I got really scared. And I immediately backed up and got out of there. And then when I reviewed it, and I said, whoa, there was a ghost in that little apartment. They were only like 10 by 12 cells, and he was hiding in there, and I was a long way from where this was 5, 6 o'clock almost, and he didn't expect any tourists there. And so when I came around the corner, it scared him. And when the ghost gets scared, you get scared. So they're scared of your eyes. Yes. So here's the thing. Ghosts can't hurt you. They have no physicality. If somebody says, I saw a ghost, well, they're lying. They couldn't see one. All there is telepathic influence. If the ghost gets really scared, telepathically you will get scared. Night marchers can threaten you, but it's, like, it's telepathy. It's all in your mind. No physicality, okay? I got a lot more ghost stories for you. Some are mind-boggling. But I just wanted to get you started on this one. I got a serious topic to get into. How the heck did I get into this anyway? We're talking about an attack on New York City around, April 18th, 20th, might go to the 24th. Upshot is, what I was doing is I was looking through all the full moons and the new moons to serve you in Hawaii, looking for those hurricane indications, to see what there was going to be an Iniki in Hawaii. And what I came up with when I looked at the astrocartography charts was a whole bunch of charts that had Pluto in nasty positions. And interesting, I started to hear you in February 8th, but the Pluto line ran through Boston, and the 22nd ran through Boston. But on the 1st of March, there was a New York City thing, and on the 23rd of March, and on the 21st of March, Pluto is just hitting it in New York City, and it was very noticeable. So I was looking for hurricanes in Hawaii, but I kind of got stuck with it. Now, the chart of the USA, the government of the USA, is, if you read the Mountain Astrology or something, those guys are way off, and I don't know anybody who's really got it down, but I rectified it by 9/11, and I've been watching it, and Ben Franklin was there, and, those guys, it was really hot in July in Philadelphia. They didn't work in the middle of the day. They waited until the evening, and they worked into the night. And so 2 a.m. in the morning, July 5th, is the proper chart. Now, I got a lot more to tell you about that and how I checked this chart. But it's important to the story, and I'm going to have to finish it on the next few shows. But what happens is I see these lunations, from February 22nd through April 22nd, hitting New York with Pluto. So I look into my ephemeris, and what happens is I discover Pluto is actually stopping in the sky and going retrograde on the 18th of April. Geez, what is that? So, this is kind of tricky. And then I looked in my ephemeris a little further, and who else did I see there but Mars? And Mars is stopping in the sky and going retrograde. He's at 8 Sag 54. Whoa, that's the number I know. The rising, this is the Uranus this opposes the rise. Hey, I better show you. Anyway, wow. Then finally, I get out my U.S. chart, which I've been adjusting just for a minute or so this way. I'm going to show you that in the next show or so. And I did the progressions on it. And what did I find on April 17th or so, April 20th, 420, if the U.S. was born at 2:06 a.m., July 5th in Philadelphia, the progressed moon is opposing the rising sign. That means it's hitting the 7th house, and all of our thoughts turn to our partners or our open enemies. You mean somebody's angry at us? This is a similar thing happened in 9/11, folks. So here's Mars opposing us on the 17th, getting really strong. They're young men, these guys with swords and hots and sharps and fire bombs and edge weapons. And Mars is a young man who's really pissed off. And Mars is a god of war. Look out! So here he is, stopping and opposing the U.S. rising. So I try to get more. There's another little interesting thing that happens in the middle of August, but I won't get into that now. So I try to capsulate this for you. There's going to be other astrologers interested, and I'm going to develop it further. But here's basically the signals. The first signal was a full moon, February 22nd, had Pluto on the descendant. It was 3 degrees past, but our descendant is like 6 Gemini, huh? I mean, our ascendant. So, and then there's a full moon on March 23rd, and you do the astrocartography, it puts Pluto on the very top of the chart in a public way. Here's a public Pluto. Maybe this is just another police killing or something, and, maybe that'll be all, huh? But then you go on, and there's a new moon on April 7th. Puts Pluto on the midheaven again, the public Pluto, what is there, epidemic? A poisoning? Mass weapons of mass destruction. There's other stuff going on, and so this is also kind of foreboding. So next thing on the timeline is Mars stationing. Mars stops on the 17th of April at 8:54 Sag, which opposes the USA ascendant and Uranus, most of all, the ruler of the 10th house. There we have a big public thing. It's like they attacked the Statue of Liberty or some public thing about our independence, our freedom, some, that's like Boston? I don't know. But here's Mars on the attack, and it's April 17th, and we're in trouble. The fourth signal is Pluto stations on the 18th. Panic, poison, war, mass destruction, eek, a bug. The fifth signal is a progressed moon opposing the rising sign of the U.S., and that happens on April 20th. And then finally there's a full moon, April 22nd, that kind of says Pluto's on the ascendant. We got panicky. We're kind of freaking out a little bit, in New York City. All this focused on New York. I'm sorry, New York. And I'm going to develop these things more for you in the next couple of shows. How do I get into these things anyway? Eek! Comes to being a safety engineer. I see hazards. I got to speak up. Really, if you don't speak up when you see wrong, you'll be